In this presentation, we're going to create another bill from a purchase order, and then we're going to pay that bill. We're going to take a look at some alternative ways or different ways to create that bill from the purchase order than we did in the prior presentation. The scenario being we created a purchase order requesting inventory, in our case a guitar. Now we got the inventory. We want to then enter the bill related to it, recording the inventory on the books and the accounts payable. Then we're going to pay it off, actually paying off with cash, and then decreasing the accounts payable. Let's zoom into it with Xero. Here we are in the Get Great Guitars dashboard. Let's first start off by opening up our reports here. So this time, let's just open up the trial balance report since we've seen this in the past. So we're going to get used to the old trial balance report. It'll be easier to use, something I highly recommend. We're going to go to the reports in order to get there, even though I know you have it in the favorite reports because I've kind of requested that you should put it there a couple times. But if you can't, it's in the accounting tab down here in the trial balance. Going to be opening that up. Once it does open up, we're going to be duplicating the tab as we have in the past by going to the tab up top, right-clicking on that tab, and then duplicating that tab. So we're going to have the trial balance to the right, information on the left. Let's take a look at our flow chart. Just looking at QuickBooks Desktop just to consider the flow chart for it, which it has. It's in the vendor section. Our story, you'll recall, someone came in, asked for a guitar. We didn't have that particular color. We then were going to order the guitar from our vendor. We use the purchase order to do so. There's no actual bill on the purchase order, no transaction, no inventory recorded, no payment made, no accounts payable made because we haven't got the inventory and we don't owe anything until we get it. Just a requesting form. Now we're imagining that inventory is arriving at our place of business. We got the guitar, and hey, there's a bill attached on it, an invoice from them, which is of course is a bill to us, an invoice from our vendor, which is a bill to us. We're now going to take that, enter this into the system, increasing the inventory account and increasing the accounts payable account. Then we're going to take that and pay it off, which we'll actually write a check or make some kind of electronic payment for it, which will decrease the payable, decrease the checking account. That will complete basically the vendor cycle. Once we have the inventory, we'll then create an invoice with it because we bought this particular guitar for a particular customer, and we can go through the customer cycle with relation to the inventory. All right, let's check it out. We're going to go back over here to Xero. What's this going to do on the trial balance? Let's go ahead and update the trial balance to 2020 because that's like the year that we're working in. So I'm going to put it into January 31st, 2020. I'm going to hold down Control, scroll up just a bit to get up to that 125. I think it's been dealing good. Xero's been doing well with the zooming in thing without messing anything up too funny. So if I go into here, we're going to say that we have an increase first when we enter the bill, which is going to be increasing the inventory, and the other side is going to go to the accounts payable. So let's do that first. Going back to the first tab. Now, last time, and the way I kind of recommend doing this is the way we did it last time, but I'll show you a different method this time. Just to review what we did last time, how we did this, is we went down to this section, the bills you need to pay section. And even though we're looking at the purchase order, the purchase orders are in this section too, the top part of the bills and like the bottom part of the purchase orders. Then we go into the approved purchase orders, and within the approved purchase orders, we can then say that we have a billed amount, and we can use this purchase order then to create a bill. And once we select it as billed, it'll move it over from approved to billed at that point in time. So that's one way we could do it. I really like that option. Just to show you, I won't do it using this option, but the thing I really like about this, especially for our type of scenario here, is that you can select the options up top, and then you can copy to, and you can copy not only to a bill, but an invoice. Create the invoice from the purchase order, not using the cost here, but it'll actually take that item that we're using and create the proper amount we want to sell it for from this item. So we'll do that in a future presentation. Also note that I'm going to scroll down to the purchase orders. So I'm going to go back to the purchase orders here up top, or the purchases overview, go down to the purchases order section. If you had like multiple purchase orders that you wanted to create a bill from, say like the same vendor that you wanted to create one bill from, then you could take and like checking off multiple items. Say I had multiple items for Gibson, and then you can check them off in this screen and go to the copy to and create a bill, and possibly look for a batch type of bill that can be created from those invoices. So you can take a look at that as well. What we want to do is try a different approach. I'm going to go back to the dashboard up top, And let's just say we're just going to go directly into the bill form and see if it links up. We can link it up. It'll link it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the plus item up top. I'm going to say, hey, I'm just going to create a bill because I got this bill I got it on the guitar that I received. I see a bill on it. So I'm just going to enter it. And I know the bill is to Gibson. So I'm going to type it into Gibson, not even caring about the purchase order. And then it says, hey, pop up, purchase order P0002 is outstanding. So then we could say, that's right. It should be tied to the purchase order at this point in time. But let's go ahead and take that purchase order and populate the bill for it. So we can link it in this way without even having to go through that kind of purchase order screen. So let's do that. We're going to copy it over, mark as billed. So now remember that we moved it over manually last time from a purchase order to the one to mark it as billed. So we're going to say, yeah, go ahead and mark it as billed because we're entering the bill right now. So we want it to go move over from unbilled to billed as we do so. So then we're going to say, yeah, let's do that. And it'll populate for us. So here's our actual bill. Let's put the date on the bill. Let's go to like the 22nd. I'm feeling like the 22nd here. And then we're going to say, here's the bill. It's populated for us. We just took that information from the purchase order. This is the guitar we have now. We got this Gibson USA, and it's for $598. That's the purchase price, not what we sell it for. What's this going to do? It's going to increase the accounts payable. The other side is going to be going to the inventory. Inventory is going up in AP. Let's go ahead and approve that. And once we do that, we can go on over to the trial balance. Oh, it says here, occurred during the fall due date. We need a due date. All right, fine. February, let's just do a month later, February 22nd. All right, is that okay? And then we're going to say approve. And there we have it. We have been approved. All right, that makes me feel good. We're going to go back to the trial balance. We'll update the trial balance. And then if we go back down, we should have the inventory then going up. So here's the inventory asset. Let's go into that one and see if it does indeed go up. I'm pretty confident that it will. I'm pretty confident. It's going to take a little while to load up here, but once it does, I think it's going to do what we expect it to. So there it is. There's the 598. Then, of course, the subsidiary ledger for inventory would increase as well. The other side then should be going to the accounts payable. So here we have the accounts payable. It's going to be increasing. Okay, so let's go back to the first tab now, and let's go back up top to the dashboard and just check out the purchase order kind of screen down here and see what it did as we entered that bill. So if I'm going to go back down to the bills you need to pay, which also includes like the purchase order area. So the bills area is on top. We're down here on the purchase order area, and notice that all the approved purchase orders are now gone because we've basically billed them all out. So if I wanted to see all transactions in terms of the purchase orders, we can go to this item. And here we have all transactions. So they went from approved to billed. So they're all in kind of the billed section here. They're all billed out. We can still go into this section, which is great, and create an invoice from it if we so choose, which is really nice. And then if I go back to the purchases order section, our next step then, I'm sorry, I keep on calling it purchase. It's the purchases overview section where the purchase orders are housed as long as where the bills are. Now we're going to go back over here and we have the bills. So now we can pay the bill. And so let's go ahead and do that. We can say, all right, here's the bills that are awaiting payment. And we entered the bill and let's go ahead and pay it now. Here's the one for Gibson. Now I'm going to go in there and pay it. Just note there's other options too. Like you can imagine if you had multiple Gibsons here, you could check them off like this. And then you could say that you want to make a payment. And then you could make a payment by check basically. And you can have multiple, bills that you can pay off by check. And you can have the batch payment, create a file to upload to your bank. Or you can have the paywithbill.com and those type of options as well. So I'm going to close this back out. I'm going to go into the system we've been using, which is to go into each of the bills at a time. So I'm going to go into that bill, and then I'm going to go down and say that we want to make the full payment at the bottom. So if we pay the amount at the bottom, here it is, the $598. I'm going to pay the entire thing off. I'm going to say the payment date. What was that on, like the 22nd? I think it's like 22nd. And then we're going to say the paid from. It's going to be coming out of the checking account. So I'm going to remove it from the checking account. Again, if it's a check, you can check it off here as well. And this gives you the option to basically assign that check number or not, right? You can assign the check number if you want. If you're writing a check manually, you can assign the check number. It'll automatically assign it and you can kind of check it off. Or if you're putting the checks into the system, you can do so with this feature. Also, remember, we do have the history and the audit trail down here for you. So that's pretty nice to have. You can see how it ties out to the purchase order. when the purchase order was created and how this was created from the purchase order. And then we're going to go ahead and add the payment. What's this going to do? It's going to be decreasing the checking account, decreasing the AP, the accounts payable. Once that is done, we're going to go back to the trial balance and just double check that that is indeed what happens. We're back to the trial balance. I'm going to update the trial balance so that the new numbers, it's fresh. We only work with fresh reports. It's refreshed or updated. I only work with reports that are up to date. And then if we go on down, we're going to say that we have the bank transfer, or that's not what we're looking at. Here's the purchase order. Here's the 598. So there we have it there. Let's go back up top. And the other side should be decreasing the AP, the accounts payable. So if we go on down to that AP, the accounts payable, it's back down to that 15,000, which I'm pretty sure that's where it was when we started this whole thing, because we increased it and then we decreased it. We increased it with the bill, we decreased it with the payment. As we can see here, this is the typical kind of scenario you'll see with the accounts payable. Hopefully, it's going to be going up, and then we pay it off, and it goes back down. And so there is that. If we went into the transaction for the payable, notice it calls it a payable invoice here. You're basically paying off the bill. I don't know why they don't call it a payable bill. Really, I think that would be easier, better term. But anyway, so we're going to go back down, and there it is. So we paid off. There's the bill that we paid off. And obviously, note you have the links down here. So you got the payment down here. So here's the bill amount, and then here's the payment amount on it. And if you select that, then you're going to go back to this payment transaction. So there we have that all linked out for you.